Alright, I'm going to try and run through the two camera editing process and how to get rid of some of things like dead air and multiple ums or ohs or other things you might not want in the video. And one of the things I want to point out is that this is not a tutorial in how to use your editing software, so this assumes that you've already been using your software enough to know how to make basic cuts and move things around in the timeline, as well as import footage and audio, and even resizing the video if need be. Like I'll be taking in 1020 1080p video into the timeline and sizing it down to 720. If you're in Premiere, then you'll get to see how that's done if you don't know how, but I'm not going to go into different software packages and how to do that. That's something you'll just have to kind of look up yourself. This is strictly the workflow on editing a two-camera setup with the understanding that you already know how to do basic editing. Alright, so first thing would be coming in with your two different camera angles. And the thing you want to make sure is that you can see the waveforms for the audio of each video. Then we zoom in and move our marker somewhere in here so that we're zooming into a spot that matters. And by the way, I have this really condensed, and this is not set up how I normally edit. I have 3 monitors, so this panel would be moved to its own monitor so that I can blow it up and see what I have going on. Anyway, back to this. What we're looking for is, the cool thing is that you sort of have a visual representation of the audio, so you can see that they match up. And what I like to do is take the audio from the, like this audio and this video correspond. You know, the bottom and the top are together. The middle two are together. So what I'm going to do is turn off the audio from the bottom timeline, because that corresponds with video number 2, and I'm going to play the audio for video number 1 while watching video number 2 to see what it looks like.
Hey, I decided to do the 2 camera,
and as you see, it matches up. Obviously, if this was offset,
edit thing,
it wouldn't match up. So that's a quick way to line up your audios. You can kind of do it visually, and if you need to, you can even go ahead and dial in even more and zoom in and really get picky with it. And at that rate, it zooms, or it moves back and forth in like little 1-frame intervals, which definitely helps you get you right on the mark. And so then once I do that, then I'll turn on the audio and turn off the audio from video 1 and turn off video 2 so I can see video 1. And
alright, so today I decided to do the 2 camera
and I see that they match up. That works both for your videos as well as if you have an external audio clip, like I happen to have, because I use a lavalier microphone plugged into its own audio recording setup, because, you know, hey, I'm the video guy and I just have that kind of money to spend. But again, this is the separate audio that I just do that same thing with. And if that happens to be what you're doing, or you want to get to that point, what you would then do is, once you get everything lined up, like I'm going to do right here, once you get that lined up,
alright, so
as
today
you see, I
I
have the
decided
good audio
to do
now.
the
And then I would go in here and actually delete the audio tracks from the video, because I don't need them, and then take my master audio clip and move that up. And so now I got my nice clean audio from my lavalier microphone and the awesome recording device, and I have my 2 video tracks. And like I was stating before, I actually have to resize these. So I come down to the effects right here, and on the scale I'm going to drop these down, and it looks like I'm on the wrong one. So let's hide that. And I drop it down. As I see, I'm resizing it. Now, this is also what you can do if you're using only one camera. How I'd mentioned, you could sort of use a wider shot and then have more of a zoomed in version, because here I can take that and I can zoom in and I can move it around and do whatever it is that I want to frame it. And so now I have a pseudo two-shot setup with one camera. If you get a wide enough angle and you're shooting in a high enough quality, like I said, 1080p, then edit in the 720, and that gives you a lot of space to work with. Or even if you are doing a two-camera shot, I can come in here and I can zoom in a little more and fix my cropping because I had some headroom there. So there's that one. We will now do this one. Zoom down, pop it back up. So 67% is the scale that I'm at. Then again, like I said, I'm assuming you already know basic editing, so I'm going to make a cut in my software package, delete this excess. Let me see where I'm at. Move this up some. I usually like to come back to the end over here. Trim off that excess. And there we go. And now I'm ready to start knocking this out. Obviously, I'll go through, and depending on how many takes, I'll line them up one after another in the timeline and trim them up, make them nice and even, and then watch through each one and kind of make notes. You can either write it down or just have a mental note of the things that you like. I tend to start cutting pieces as I like them and cutting out little blocks and deleting the stuff that I messed up or whatever. So let's see what I got.
Alright, so today I decided to do the two-camera edit thing. So today I decided to kind of show you guys why
right there, I just started and stopped over again.
So much easier on your workflow. It's really simple.
Now here, right here, in the beginning, I say So let's start with that. Let's cut off that first excess.
So today I decided to kind of show you guys why a two-camera edit would be so much easier on your workflow.
Then that's just before I say so I kind of zoom in here. And one thing you want to look at is in editing, let's say you're shooting someone go into a room, and so you're shooting them from the outside of one area, and they go to the door and they open the door, and then you shoot them from the other side walking in. What you actually do is you cut just before they grab the handle, or as they grab the handle, then you make the cut. And then on the other side, you actually make the cut just as the door's opening, not when the door's completely shut. And that motion, for some reason, registers with our brain that it's a continuous fluid movement, as opposed to showing it where someone goes up and they walks and they grab the door and they hold on to it for a second or two, and then you turn to the other side and you see the door closed for a second or two, and then they open it. That creates a pause in our mind, so it seems weird. So you're cutting on fluid movement. So right here, I kind of look for the part where my mouth is almost closed, and even I can hear the audio. And so as the audio's ending and I see my mouth kind of starting to close, but it's not completely closed. Then I went through, and then there we go, my mouth is starting to open back up again. I cut, and I take this out. And slap those two together. Then, before I even worry about the actual visuals changing, I just sort of give it a listen to see how it sounds. And I'll even look away from the monitor so I'm not looking at the video, and just possibly even close my eyes and listen to the audio and see how it sounds in my head.
Much easier on your workflow. It's really simple. Obviously, if you have cheap cameras, you just try and buy another one that's identical.
Okay, let's listen to that one more time.
It's so much easier on your workflow. It's really simple, obviously.
So that was kind of fast on my voice. So I'll undo that, come back, and I want to give myself a little bit more time on this back.
It's really simple.
I still don't like that. Let me go back a little bit more.
It's really
okay.
Easier on your workflow. It's really simple. Obviously, if you have cheap cameras.
Okay, so there we go. That's our first cut. And then usually I'll start with the forward-facing camera, and so now you can watch.
Easier on your workflow. It's really simple. Obviously, if you have cheap cameras,
And you notice how seamless that is.
it would be so much easier on your workflow. It's really simple. Obviously, if you have cheap cameras,
and there you go. I just removed my first and I think I had like 5 or 6 when I was making that video. So it really does help. And as you get used to your editing workflow and knowing how you edit, you can actually start to pace yourself. So when you catch yourself saying you can actually add more of a pause, knowing that you're going to cut that out, because it is obviously harder if you say and then you start talking. Then it's hard to cut that out. But if you say and I was thinking the other day, it's a whole lot easier to remove that and make your flow go a lot nicer. Now, it's not impossible to get rid of those ones that kind of jump on top of a sentence. There's some other tricks you can do for that, like messing with the audio a little bit, but that is a little more complicated, and we'll work into that later. So for the time being, just concentrate on that, finding your workflow right there.
Try and buy it.
Let's see what else. Yeah. And I'm actually not going to edit out my ums on the screen capture. It's just too time consuming, and it's not like you see my face anyway. Now, let me find these spots where I did my little story.
So I was down at the beach the other day.
Here we go. See, that's how good you can get. You actually can see the spots in the audio where specific things happened.
So I was down at the beach the other day, and I had my favorite candy, which are M&Ms. A buddy of mine came up to me and said he saw a girl that we knew in high school.
So there we go. We'll just use those 3. I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff because I really don't need it for now. And we just do that same thing. So leave that.
Okay.
Go listen for where the audio drops out, but you still kind of have some movement in your face.
Buddy of mine came up to me and said,
oh, I actually just deleted the That's that little sound.
he saw a girl that we knew.
So there we go. Here's our 3 pieces, and I could just pop them together for now. See what that looks like, and even delete the tops off those 2.
So I was down at the beach the other day, and I had my favorite candy, which are M&Ms. A buddy of mine came up to me and said he saw a girl that we knew in high school.
So let me get those top pieces back by hitting undo a couple times, and let's move these around.
So I was down at the beach the other day. A buddy of mine came up to me and said he saw a girl that we knew in high school. And I had my favorite candy, which are M&Ms.
See, it's that simple to move your content around. It happens the same way. So if you start a piece of your video and you're seeing things out of order, so you're starting to listen to it and you're like, yeah, I should have said this first, I should have said that last. You can cut them out and move them around and just use those same editing principles where you're kind of cutting where your mouth is starting to close or your movement is ending but not completely stopped. And then the same thing on the other one, as a little after your movement has started but before any audio has came in, that's where you cut that piece and just put them together, and play around with it. Again, you can do that with the one camera move. I'll show you real quick where we just go here, and on this second one I come in, and let me actually jump it back since this was a bigger video. Find out where the positions were. So there we go. Now it's not the greatest aesthetically between those two shots, but it'll work.
So I was down at the beach the other day. A buddy of mine came up to me and said he saw a girl that we knew in high school, and I had my favorite candy, which are M&Ms.
And actually we can go to another principle in video where it comes down to cropping, and you can actually crop really tight on someone's face and even cut off their head as long as you keep their chin. And if you start watching TV, you'll notice this, that it's okay to cut off the top of someone's head as long as their chin is still in there when their mouth is moving. So we're going to do that real quick to add even more dramatic difference between those two shots.
So I was down at the beach the other day. A buddy of mine came up to me and said he saw a girl that we knew in high school, and I had my favorite candy, which are M&Ms.
So there, that just looks like a two-shot that someone shot with two different lenses, wide angle and then an up close, and it works out. So hopefully that helps you out in doing a two-camera edit or even a one-camera edit, in editing out different things or rearranging the order of your workflow. And if you have any questions, just feel free to hit me up.